Sometimes you wake up in the morning and you feel a little bit sick. Sometimes you wake up in the morning and you feel great. Sometimes you wake up in the morning and a Nintendo Direct happened. And, well, that's what happened today. A brand new Nintendo Direct Mini Partner Showcase just wrapped up for the Nintendo Switch, showcasing off some upcoming third-party games. We got game announcements. We got game release dates. We got demos for games. Honestly, it was a packed show with a lot of stuff and a lot of great variety for a lot of people, including new technology finally being used in North America for the Nintendo Switch. So I want to go over the games that were talked about during this presentation and just share my thoughts overall on this presentation, because while I sort of like the Monster Hunter presentation a little bit more in terms of games coming, I think the technology side of things is very, very interesting when it comes to the Nintendo Switch. So sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and let's talk about that Nintendo Direct Mini Partner Showcase and why it was so important. Kicking things off, Bravely Default 2, which was originally a 2020 game, got a brand new trailer, and really, I think this game looks great. I think everyone that played Bravely Default has been wanting this game to come out. It looks absolutely spectacular in terms of graphics. I think they did a great job of sort of blending old school graphics with modern graphics, if you sort of get my gist with what I'm saying with that, and I think that from a visual standpoint, it looks absolutely spectacular. I'm sure the gameplay will once again be rock solid as well. We got to look at different characters, different abilities, different attacks. For the first 5 minutes of the 20-minute presentation, it was all about Bravely Default 2. They're definitely trying to hype this game up a lot, and it seems like Square Enix has done a lot of cool things with this game. Now, originally it was supposed to come out in 2020, but the game has now officially been delayed, but thankfully this delay isn't all that long or anything like that. You'll be able to play Bravely Default 2 on February 26th of 2021. So in a couple months, you'll get your hands on Bravely Default 2. I'm sure it's going to be a spectacular game. I'm not the biggest Bravely Default fan in the world or anything like that, but I know that this is an important game for the Nintendo Switch, and RPG fans have really been looking forward to it, and so in that breath, I can respect it. Next up, we got to look at Story of Seasons, Pioneer of Olive Town. Now, Story of Seasons, when you're looking at this game, you're like, hey, this looks a lot like Harvest Moon, and well, that's because Story of Seasons is actually the Harvest Moon franchise just renamed, and the actual Harvest Moon games that are coming out now are not actually Harvest Moon. I don't know, it's a very weird situation, but all I know is that the old school Harvest Moon games are now Story of Seasons games, and the current Harvest Moon games are not Harvest Moon games. They're just using that namesake. But the game itself I thought looked fine. It definitely sort of had that Pokemon Sword and Shield style of graphics, which, you know, that's not really the most popular graphical style, but if you're not familiar with what a Story of Season or an old school Harvest Moon game is, you're basically on a farm, you're given a farm, or you go and you take over a farm. It's always a farm involved in it. You do crops, you cultivate crops, you have different sorts of wildlife that live on your farm, you go fishing, you sell your crops. You know, it's sort of one of those simulation style games. If you're a fan of Animal Crossing style games, Story of Seasons will definitely be something that will probably interest you, and this game will be coming out on March 23rd of 2021. Next was what I believe was a new game announcement, a game called Surviving the Aftermath. Now, as they're showing off this game, I'm like, oh, Wasteland 3 is coming to the Nintendo Switch. But no, it wasn't Wasteland 3. It was actually a new game called Surviving the Aftermath. It obviously looks a lot like Wasteland 3, sort of that post-apocalyptic top-down style strategic RPG game with guns and your, you know, zombies and crap like that, you know, sort of standard stuff. But I do think the game itself actually looks very clean from a graphical standpoint, assuming that we are seeing Nintendo Switch related footage of this game. I'm not sure if it's a multi-plat game or anything like that, but I thought from what we saw from it actually looked pretty promising. This game will be coming out in spring of 2021, so if you're a fan of Wasteland style games, definitely something that should be on your radar. Then we got to look at Immortals Phoenix Rising, which is of course Ubisoft's upcoming game for this holiday season besides Watch Dogs 3, and I think this game looks really good. Everyone who's played this game has told me how good it is. There's a demo available on Stadia. I know Hey Jay, Beat 'em Ups, 8-Bit Eric, everyone seems to love this game that has played it, but I believe this is the first time that we saw footage that's indicative of the Nintendo Switch version of the game, because obviously it didn't look as good as some of the trailers that we've seen Ubisoft put out so far for this game, but I still thought it looked very, very good. And honestly, I think this is a game that will maybe sell best on the Nintendo Switch. I don't see this game being a commercial success, even though it looks like it's going to be a very good game, just because it kind of has a weird theme to it that's not very Ubisoft-ish, and definitely has that Legend of Zelda, maybe even a tad of Kid Icarus style to it. So I think Immortals Phoenix Rising might do very well on the Nintendo Switch. Then we got a little sizzle reel of 2 games coming out in early November of 2020 with Bakugan. You know, it's Bakugan. I heard the game isn't bad though. My buddy Brett over at Nintendo Enthusiast has been playing it. Says it's pretty decent. And then we got to look at Tropico 6, which, wow, this game looked rough, man. This trailer did not look all that great. I was definitely kind of surprised at just how kind of shoddy it looked. So yeah, you might want to wait for Tropico 6. But here is where things get very, very interesting, and the technology side of things comes into play, and it's something I want to explore a bit more at the end of the video. I'm just going to talk about the games right now and then talk about the impact that this will have on the Nintendo Switch. So Hitman 3 Cloud Edition was announced for the Nintendo Switch. Yes, that game that's coming out on your Xbox Series X and your PlayStation 5 will be coming to the Nintendo Switch as well. They didn't give a release date or anything like that. I don't know if it's going to be one day in and day with the other versions of the game, but Hitman 3 Cloud Edition was announced for the Nintendo Switch, along with another game, Control Ultimate Edition Cloud version, the game of the year for last year, the greatest game of all time. I still haven't played it or anything like that, but yes, Control Ultimate Edition Cloud version is now going to be available on the Nintendo Switch. You can actually download it right now and check it out on your Nintendo Switch for absolutely free. It's not the full version of the game or anything like that, but it gives you a bit of a taste. I actually downloaded it before I went live with this video, and there's a performance mode and a graphics mode. So one sort of optimizes performance, one sort of optimizes graphics. Now this technology is very interesting, and we're going to talk more about it at the end of the video because I think that's where things get very exciting for the Nintendo Switch. However, I did just want to mention these 2 games because obviously they're big AAA games that are now on the Nintendo Switch, at least in one way, shape, or form. No More Heroes 3 is alive. We got a little gameplay trailer of No More Heroes 3. Not a whole lot was shown, but we at least did get a little bit more of a taste of this game, and the often rumored No More Heroes 1 and 2 are now available on your Nintendo Switch for digital download at $18 a piece. Now, if you've never played these games, they absolutely kick ass. They're very over the top. They'll sort of get you ready for No More Heroes 3, which will probably be a spring 2021 release for the Nintendo Switch. This was heavily rumored to be coming to the Nintendo Switch as well. We talked about it a million times on the channel, and now it is here, so make sure you guys go check that out. Then they showed off a game called Part-Time UFO, which, I mean, just kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. I'm sure it's a fine game, and just sort of the timing of this game. You got these big AAA games, and then you got this game here. But you know what? I'm sure there are people that will like it. And then Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity actually ended the show with a nice trailer and the announcement of a download for a demo of this game. You can head over to the eShop right now and get a Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity Nintendo Switch demo for free. We talked about it yesterday on the channel. We knew it was coming. If you are an avid RGT watcher, you're already prepared for cool announcements like this. But yes, it is now available, so I'm going to be checking it out later this afternoon. Overall, I thought this was a really good show with really good variety. You know, following up the Monster Hunter presentation that they had, I felt like the 2 Monster Hunter games were the best, and then everything else was just a cherry on the top of the ice cream sundae. But with this, it was definitely very interestingly paced. You got Bravely Default 2, No More Heroes 3, No More Heroes 1 and 2 coming out, Hyrule Warriors getting a demo, you know, and then of course the Cloud Edition stuff. And that's what I sort of want to end this video on, is talking about cloud versions of Nintendo Switch games, because this is something that has happened in Japan already. You might remember Resident Evil 7 and Assassin's Creed Odyssey both released on the Nintendo Switch with cloud editions in Japan only. And whenever I asked about this, because I'm not the biggest technology guy in the world, people would always tell me, oh, well, the Nintendo Switch, you know, it just in North America, the online isn't as good as it is in Japan. They have a better infrastructure in Japan, so it works better in Japan than it would in North America. But now you have Control and Hitman 3 coming to the Nintendo Switch as well with these cloud versions of these games. Like I said, I downloaded the Control thing. It's basically just sort of a stress test to see how North America will be able to handle the cloud version of the game. And from what I've played so far, which is just a few minutes, I thought it ran very well. I chose the graphics mode because I wanted to see just how good it would look, and it looked really, really good on my Nintendo Switch in handheld mode. So I think this whole cloud stuff is going to be something that's going to happen in the future with Nintendo Switch. And as a collector, you might be thinking, well, you should hate this cloud versions of the game. But honestly, I really don't. Would I rather have a natively built game for the Nintendo Switch come to us from these companies? Yes, of course, definitely. But if I have to choose between either getting a cloud version of a game on the Nintendo Switch or no version of the game on the Switch, I'm going to choose the cloud version of the game. Like, at least you're getting the game in some sort of capacity. It'll be very interesting to see where this goes in the future, though, because this is a huge step for Nintendo Nintendo Switch owners, because it sort of circumvents the fact that the Nintendo Switch isn't the strongest hardware out there right now. And with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X coming out, these are obviously going to be able to run games natively that the Nintendo Switch could never dream of. So if you're able to get cloud versions of these games, I think that is a big win for Nintendo Switch owners. So definitely a very exciting and unique Nintendo Direct mini partner showcase this morning. One of the most interesting just because of the variety of sort of announcements and stuff like that. They did say that this will be the last partner showcase for 2020, and I think they ended it on a bang with very interesting stuff, new games, new technology, release dates. Like, you can't go wrong with this. So let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of this presentation. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What did you think of the games talked about in it? And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, hit that like button, do what you're supposed to do, whatever the YouTubers say that the kids are supposed to do on the videos. And as always, guys, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.